Hey guys, and welcome to the DiveBomb YouTube channel. I'm Aryan, and today we're going to be running down the driver market for the 2022 Formula 1 season. So, unlike last year, there's not that many positions open for drivers this year, and that's mostly because all the drivers from last year that freshly signed new contracts signed multi-year deals that last through 2022. As a result, the only teams with open seats for the next season are Mercedes, Red Bull, Alfa Tauri, Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas. So let's start off by talking about the team that has the most debated seats going into 2022 so far, Mercedes. Currently, Mercedes' lineup consists of 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton has been with Mercedes since 2013, and Bottas has been with them since 2017 after Nico Rosberg left. Now, Hamilton seems very likely to renew his contract with the team. His last contract with Mercedes had a lot of stipulations about becoming a larger part of the company as a whole, and he clearly still has a drive for more success in his career. His performance is really consistent too, the team's really happy with him, he seems really happy with the team, so it really makes no sense to go somewhere else for the next season. Most likely, Hamilton is going to renew his contract with Mercedes for 2022, but hopefully he does it a little bit sooner than he did last year. With Bottas though, the story is a little bit more complicated, and that's mostly because of Williams driver George Russell. Now, Bottas has arguably been one of the best second drivers in Formula 1, right next to Rubens Barrichello. He's an incredibly strong driver with a massive amount of talent. He scores pretty consistent points, has several podiums, has a lot of wins, and he doesn't really get on that many on-track tussles with Hamilton. He gets the job done, and when Hamilton underperforms, he's usually right there to make up for it. But lately, last 2 seasons, there's been a big emphasis on that usually bit. Now enter George Russell, a young Formula 2 world champion, and might I add, champion of making the best out of the worst, considering he drives that Williams to Q2 so many times, and how impressively he recovered after yeah, never mind, I don't want to rehash that. Up and down the paddock, so many people say that Russell has it in him to be a future Formula 1 world champion, and I don't disagree at all. The man has some serious driving skill, and compared to Bottas right now, I think Russell has the advantage. Bottas has fallen off a bit, so it makes complete sense for Russell to come in and replace him. I'm pretty confident that for next year, Mercedes will be picking George Russell to race right alongside Lewis Hamilton. As far as where Bottas would go, I'm not really too sure. There's not many competitive spots open for the next year's Formula 1 season. He could make a return to his old team, Williams, because they've been improving a lot lately, and with the regulation changes coming to 2022, maybe they'll make a turn for the better. It's tough to say where the Finn might go, but Bottas is by far one of the best drivers we've seen on the grid in recent years, so he definitely deserves a seat in Formula 1 still, it just might not be next year. Now, let's move on to Red Bull. Red Bull only has 1 seat open since Verstappen, rightfully so, has a multi-year contract with the team. Now, this could be too soon, but I'm just going to go ahead and lock in my choice for Sergio Perez to keep the seat for next year. In just his few races, Perez has performed amazingly, and you can't exactly say that for the other 2 drivers that were in his spot. I mean, he's already had a race win, and his finishing position is usually pretty close to Verstappen. His race pace is phenomenal, and his tire management is god tier. I mean, this man has absolutely smashed everyone's expectations. Yeah, he has some work to do with qualifying, but be honest, without him, Red Bull wouldn't be leading the Constructors' Championship right now. For the first time in years, it feels like Red Bull finally has a 2-driver lineup that could actually win them the championship again. Something absolutely crazy would have to happen for Perez to not get a contract extension next year. Sometime this year, I'd expect Perez to get a multi-year contract renewal because I think he really deserves it. Now let's talk about Alfa Tauri, who have both seats open, since Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda have not renewed contracts for 2022 yet. With Gasly, there weren't really any concerns whether or not the team would offer him a contract because, let's be honest, Gasly's probably one of the best things to have ever happened to Alfa Tauri. He's put that car on the podium a few times, out-drag raced Lewis Hamilton in Brazil, and the biggest one of all, he's won a race in that car. So Gasly was rumored to be talking with Alpine for racing for them next season, but Esteban Ocon just received a multi-year contract renewal from them, so that door pretty much closed. There's not really a better place for him to be at the moment since Dr. Marco, aka the young driver Dream Crusher, has completely rejected the idea of him being back at Red Bull. Plus, like I said earlier, Perez is really comfortable at Red Bull, so there's no reason for the switch. It's a pretty safe bet that Gasly will be renewing his contract with AlphaTauri for 2022. It's a different matter for Yuki Tsunoda though. Now, this is his first year in Formula 1, but he hasn't been performing at his best. He's currently 14th in the Drivers' Championship, has caused a lot of red flags during qualifying, and his race pace really just isn't that consistent.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Now, he has gotten a handful of points, but this kid has serious anger issues.
Push flat out.
Yeah, shut up!
Jetta.
Idiot, this guy.
These issues have put him under a lot of heat from the team, and aforementioned Dream Crusher Helmut Marko. There's also a lot of Red Bull Academy drivers currently in Formula 1 that are really lined up to take that Alfa Tauri seat. Jehan Deruvala, Yuri Vips, both of them are really talented drivers that could excel in Formula 1. We'll just have to see how consistent Tsunoda can be going forward with the rest of the season. However, if he can't get consistent soon, or if he makes the team too angry with his demeanor, I wouldn't be surprised if he loses his seat to Vips or Deruvala. Now on to Alfa Romeo, who also have both seats open because Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi don't have contracts for next year yet. As far as Räikkönen goes, I'm honestly clueless. Sometimes he wants to retire, sometimes he doesn't, it's just really hard to say. I think he's in full control of that seat, so if he does decide that he wants it, it's his to keep. He hasn't exactly forgotten how to drive an F1 car because he still performs fairly well for that car. I think Räikkönen himself sums up his future in Formula 1 best.
It's more like a hobby for me, so obviously I don't need to do it if I don't want.
Giovinazzi performs fairly decent too. Surprisingly, he hasn't been that far off Räikkönen when you look at his pace. But many say that Giovinazzi is not at a level to move beyond Alfa Romeo, and as a result, his seat should be given away to a younger driver. Now, after both of these two drivers got contract renewals last year, I was pretty stumped as to what Alfa Romeo was thinking in terms of their future strategy. But I do believe that any spot that will open up in the team would be given to a up-and-coming young driver. My best two picks are Mick Schumacher, who's currently with Haas, or Caleb Eilert, who really deserves a Formula 1 seat considering this guy is still racing here. Personally, I think Räikkönen and Giovinazzi will both be out of the seat going into 2022, and hopefully they'd be replaced by Schumacher and Eilert. But this is pretty unrealistic because I don't think Ferrari wants to lose their Italian driver in the sport, and Kimi Räikkönen will live and continue to race for the next 100 years. Now comes some pretty easy ones, Williams and Haas. So as far as Williams go, we've already talked about George Russell, so let's talk about Nicholas Latifi. Now, Latifi's father has heavily invested into Williams. Should he continue to do so, which there really isn't a reason to stop, I think Latifi has a pretty secure hold onto that Williams seat. It's a similar case for Nikita Mazepin at Haas. Mazepin's father has a huge investment in Haas, and he might even buy the team next year. So as long as that continues and stays true, there's no reason for Mazepin to be losing his seat. We've touched on Mick Schumacher a bit as well, and unless he gets a contract to go to Alfa Romeo, he'll most likely be staying at Haas for next season. Well, that's all the open spots for next year's F1 season broken down. Let us know your predictions in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on DiveBomb.